on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Sealing and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
Since Billy Murphy began the bowling programs at Newman in 2002, Jet Bowling has been perhaps NU's most illustrious program in terms of postseason success, with the men and women combining for 20 appearances in the Intercollegiate Team Championships. 2 men are headed back to nationals this year and will try to win men's individual gold. It would be NU's first individual men's title since Corey Simmons in 2004. Welcome into episode number 66 of the Jetcast, your weekly look inside Newman University Athletics. I am Blake Cripps, and I am joined by the aforementioned Newman University Hall of Famer. Do you keep track? How many Hall of Fames are you in anyway?
Yeah, I don't really keep track.
He's in plenty.
That stuff, yeah.
That's our job to keep track of. Right. But he is the head coach for Newman men's and women's bowling, Billy Murphy, completing now his 19th season here in the chair in Wichita. Congratulations on, next year we're going to be talking about year 20. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It really is.
Unbelievable. So both teams once again into the sectional round. It seems like you guys, obviously you've been here longer than I have. It seems like you guys have never missed the postseason. You guys are always in sectionals. So how did it feel? Obviously, when you come to Newman, you kind of expect to make sectionals as a men and women's team, don't you?
Well, I think we do have an expectation level. 19 years in, we've qualified on both sides all 19 years. And we have goals. We have expectations of how to compete and where we want to get to. So our kids, we've been blessed because we've had great student athletes in our program from the beginning. And they work hard, and they do what we ask them to for the most part.
Tyler Sidovic and James McIver, both qualifying individually on the men's side. James McIver is coming up later on in the show. Also, former baseball coach and current Associate Athletic Director of External Operations, Zane Ehling, will be joining us on this edition of the Jetcast as well. But I know you're extremely excited about those two guys to make it. Were those the two that you always thought would make it? Because I know at different times you've had different guys who have been red hot for you on the men's side at other times this year. But, at the end of this day, it comes down to who's bowling well in April, and it happens to be those two guys. How excited are you for those two to get a crack at nationals?
Yeah, we're really excited. And to answer that question, it really could have been anybody on our squad. If you look at our averages for the year, there's probably, 7 pens differentiating the top average to the bottom average on the varsity level. So, and we actually had, 4 or 5 players there at the end that could have done it with 2 games to go. So, am I surprised at who made it? No. Both of them were bowling pretty good going in. But it honestly, it could have been any of about 5 or 6 different guys.
It's kind of interesting because you've got James, who is just off camera. You'll see him next. I believe that's your first appearance, correct, at nationals? But you'll have Tyler, who went last year, so you've got a blend of a first-timer and some experience going back to nationals. What do you think the dynamic will be having those two guys up there together?
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Anytime you can get more information, and through the qualifying process, they bowl a certain amount of games, they qualify, they get seeded into match play, and then they start bowling match play. So having 2 instead of 1 will probably benefit both of them, because as coaches we'll have more information about maybe what equipment to use, when to use it, and how it goes as far as that goes.
We were talking a little bit about equipment coming on and you trying to get everything set up for all of that and putting in some long hours on the road to make sure that everybody's got that. How much is that? We hear that in golf all the time. Like, hey, we got to get the grooves cut on this putter, or maybe I need to change the angle of a wedge. Is that something that goes into bowling at this level in terms of, maybe I need to use a heavier ball or a different material? How much goes into making an equipment selection in terms of the bowling ball?
Yeah, it's not so much the weight, because the weight's going to be the same.
You always want the same weight.
You want them to be throwing that so tempo doesn't get messed up. But there are different covers. There are different weight blocks. Guys throw it differently. So their PAP, positive access points, are different. So you lay out the balls differently for each athlete.
Okay.
And so when you're going to this tournament, in the past few years, it's been dominated by urethane covers. So our guys will have that, but you can't really go in going, okay, this is how it's going to be, right?
So what's the different, like if you have, because you mentioned your different materials, how do they, for the layman's, people like me who can barely, if we get to 100, we're like, all right, we made it. How do they perform differently?
Yeah, urethane balls are, they're really built for shorter patterns or patterns that don't have as much volume.
Because of oil on the lanes.
Yeah, because they control the end of the pattern. And anything we do, no matter what the pattern is, we're trying to control the end of the pattern. We do not want a lot of sharp angles at the end of the pattern. We want them to be smooth and controllable.
Sure.
So it's easier to control the ball motion. And that's generally what a urethane ball does, where a reactive ball, they're a little cleaner through the fronts, so they save a little bit more energy, so when they get down the lane, they make a little more violent move down the lane.
Don't you like that?
Well, we don't necessarily like violent moves, but we always want to control it. But there are so many different patterns that they can lay out. They can lay out different distances.
And going into a tournament, an event, do you guys get any advance knowledge of what the patterns are, or maybe there's a particular set of patterns and you don't know which ones? I guess that would be similar to golf, in which you kind of know, okay, at Augusta on 18, these are the traditional hole placings, but they always have at their discretion that they could change it. Not that they will on Augusta National this weekend, but is that something on the bowling alley that you have access to?
Yeah, we get none.
So you're going in blind every tournament?
Yes, okay. For the most part. And it's really, how it should be as far as on my side of it. Part of my job as a coach is to teach our players how to read their balls going down the lane, to try to get proper ball motion, what balls we're going to choose. So it's one of those things where if you work good at that, you have an advantage over another athlete or another program in the country that maybe isn't as good as you are as a group.
So I'm assuming for these guys, when you go up, first of all, what's the venue? What's the competition level like? And when is this actually going to be happening?
Yeah, it's January 20 through 23rd.
You mean July?
No, I'm sorry. It is April.
I was going to say January.
Lost my mind.
We're a little late.
No, it's in April 20 through 23rd. It is in Addison, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. In a bowling center that gets a lot of college tournaments.
And stay tuned here, because we're going to try to get all the social and all that stuff for you guys to be able to follow along if you would like to. Obviously, NewmanJets.com is going to be a great source to keep track of Tyler and James is coming up on the show here in just a second. So when you guys get up there, how important is it to be able to get on the lanes? Do you have access to the lanes for practice, the day before, the day of the tournament to try to get a feel? And how do you go about with your bowlers? Because it is so individualized, trying to make sure that they have the game plan, they have the understanding for their game, because I know that we've talked in the past regarding left-handers and right-handers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are oil patterns that really favor lefties, and then there are some that really favor righties, and trying to figure out how to deal with that. If it's not an oil pattern that fits your game, that's obviously a huge part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there is a practice session at this event, but The practice session is more just getting your feet underneath you and finding some rhythm, because the condition is never really the same once competition starts. Our sport is so unique because they can't really, when they lay the pattern down initially, there's still a little of the house characteristic left in that pattern.
Sure.
So the more they strip and run it, the closer they get to the truer condition. And so we'll find out most of the information we need to find out during qualifying.
Okay.
And then take that information into the match play to try to help them. You can learn some things by the practice session, but a lot of times they're just totally different the next day.
One thing that we do have to talk about is the team competition at sectionals. Obviously, you guys finished both on the men and the women's side ranked in the top 15 in the country. I know you had high hopes, and like we said in the kind of the pregame or the scene setter here for the show, you guys have a standard here of excellence that's been met several times. What did I say? 20 championship appearances for the men and the women. Didn't quite work out that way for the team on the men and the women's side. In what ways do you feel like the things, what didn't you do, I guess, that you have traditionally done to get yourself to the championships that maybe these two teams didn't quite execute?
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking at a lot of data. Our sport is so data-driven. And I'll tell you,
it seems like that every sport's going that way.
It really is, but it says a lot about what's going on, and it tells you where your mistakes are. We missed 48 spares on the guys' side. That's probably 20% too much. But on top of that, we split 77 times, and so that data alone just tells you there's some bad execution.
Sure.
And we've had that issue at times during the year. It kind of just popped back up during sectionals. Both teams, I would not say bowled poorly. We just didn't bowl great.
Sure.
And when you get to that point of the season when you're going against 16 of the best teams in the country, you really have to bowl pretty darn good to get there. And similar on the ladies' side, we just had too many opens. Not enough clean frames. We did some math, and if we would have split half the time on either side,
50% more, we probably going to make it.
Well, 77 splits. If you clean 37 of those pins,
it's a lot of pins.
It's 400 pins, and it when you think about it like that, you're just like, okay. But knowing that, if you do that, the arm swings are going to be looser. You're going to make better shots. You're going to strike a little bit more.
Sure.
So that deficit doesn't really seem that much. On the girls' side, it took 192 average for 64 games to make it. We averaged 185.3, right? So that's, 7 pins per game times 64. It's 420 pins, give or take. I mean, we lost that just in splits.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't even have had to throw another strike if we would have just cleaned more frames. But it does just get down to execution. Our ladies' side, we had such a young group. 5 freshmen getting a lot of playing time.
Sure.
And you can talk about that moment all you want as a coach.
A little different when you're on the lane, isn't it?
But when you get there and you get to the event and every shot matters. When during the season maybe that isn't necessarily the case. Every shot matters, but the formats are so long that you can rebound from a bad game sometimes. And sectionals, it's very hard to do. The guys were, after 2 sets on Sunday, with 6 sets to go, they were 120 pins in the number, and they shoot 660, missing 8 spares, and had 6 splits on top of that. And the team that was behind us shot 920. So it was a 300 pen turnaround in 4 games. And we just did not rebound from that very well. But I think some of that, just comes with experience, and we'll do better next year. We've at practice, our practice plans are going to be a little bit different here at the end of the year because we're going to do some fundamental stuff. We're going to get back to a little bit more fundamentals and get some balance and some execution to kind of prepare us for next year.
Final question for you. You do still have two guys that are not working on fundamentals that they still need to fine-tune. Tyler Sinovic, James McIver. What's it going to take for these guys to maybe bring home a championship? What are you looking for? What's going to allow both of these guys to do their best work up here at the Nationals?
Yeah, I think, it comes down to execution, right? But like any postseason in any sport, it is who gets hot in those couple days, right? We're watching basketball, right?
Sure.
The last few weeks, and KU, North Carolina came in not really playing that well, and gets hot at the conference tournament, carries that on in, right? KU had some rough moments, but got incredibly hot during the tournament and wins a national championship, right? It's the same thing in our sport. There are 24 athletes on the men's side that'll be at nationals, and literally every one of them can play.
Sure.
So it is going to be the 4 guys that get the hottest in 2 days of bowling that make that show, and our guys are capable of that.
The TV show is where they want to be. Last time, give us an update, the dates, how people can follow if they want to watch. Social media, obviously, at Newman Jets on Twitter is going to be a great place for you to follow. NewmanJets.com. We'll have a lot of updates there. But if people want to follow along with these two guys and see if they can bring home that first championship since 2004, how can they do that?
Yeah, the only way at this event is through bowl.com.
Okay. That should be pretty easy to remember.
Yeah, bowl.com, and they have a live streaming space on bowl.com, Bowl TV. And every match, all of qualifying, it will all be streamed on their format.
It's April 20th is when it starts, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
April 20th, bowl.com to get the latest on the national championships as the Jets try to bring home an individual title. Best of luck to you, Coach. Congratulations on 2 decades. We're talking year 20 next year with Coach Murphy. Hard to believe. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We will have one of those qualifiers, James McIver. He is coming up next to join me here on the Jetcast. Couple of Newman Jets bowlers headed up to Nationals. One of them joining us this week on the Jetcast. It is James McIver, a junior out of Cape Coral, Florida, joining us here on the show. James, thank you so much for being a part of the program, and congratulations on your national tournament berth.
Thank you for having me.
Well, he's bowled a 300, a high series entering the year of 815, and he enters the postseason with an average of 203.4 going into the national tournament. How do you feel like the year's gone for you?
The first half of the season was not the best for me, but coming back after I went home for Christmas break, got to spend time with some family, just have fun while bowling again, and then I came back, and the second half was definitely a lot better for me.
What do you feel like technically was the difference between the first half of the season and the second half of the season?
The second half, we worked a lot more on my fixing my swing a little bit. It was getting really bad first half. So
when you say your swing, obviously we're not talking about a golf swing or a baseball swing. We're talking about your swing on the delivery of the ball.
Yeah.
What do you feel like was the change that you made that allowed you to have more success?
Just trying to keep it more easygoing, not moving around as much as it was the first half of the semester.
Obviously, qualifying for you guys as a team, you want to qualify as a team. You want to qualify individually as well. How do you felt like that went for you guys as a group?
Honestly, I would give up my single spot for the team, but I don't think we were bowling as one unit in postseason, but we'll come back next year and fix that for sure.
Obviously, you certainly individually did bowl the kind of you put the pins down that you needed to get individually. What was really working for you at those qualifications at sectionals?
Just going one shot at a time for sure. Not trying to get ahead of myself at all. Just taking everything one shot at a time, focusing on the second shot more than the first shot.
What's the goal, I think, for you, because you said, we weren't bowling as a team. How do you try to build that and be a good teammate next year so you guys can come back? I mean, obviously, you guys qualified for sectionals again. You guys are on an amazing run in terms of qualifying for sectionals. It's been a number of years in a row you've been in the postseason. What do you feel like the guys need to do to come together to be better teammates and to roll together better next year?
There's just, personally, I do some things that I wasn't aware of at the time, but I, put my head down a lot without realizing it. That's just something we need to change, and no one can be doing that in order for us to be successful next year.
Obviously, so excited to have you and a teammate going to Nationals. What's it like to have another guy to go up there and Tyler to be at Nationals with?
I don't know. Last year he made it by himself, so at least this year he's got someone going with him. I'm just hoping we have a good time while we're up there.
What is the training regimen like? How is it different for Nationals, or is it a situation where you do everything you can to just try to stay as regular and as normal as possible in terms of your preparation, in terms of what you're doing to get yourself ready and to keep yourself sharp for Nationals?
I actually just got back from bowling the Masters. I decided to bowl that to try and better my game and see what I need to work on before Nationals.
What's your expectations? What expectations do you have for yourself? And then obviously, I'm sure you guys are both hoping that you'll kind of push each other up the standings there at Nationals too.
My personal expectations are just to go out there and bowl the best I can. Wherever that puts me, that puts me.
Probably a good attitude to have, isn't it?
Yep.
What's it like to be coached by this guy, Coach Murphy, here behind the camera?
I love Billy. He's an awesome coach, and I'm really glad I came here for sure.
Do you guys have any specific goals for what you and Tyler want to achieve at Nationals? Is it, hey, we want to get top 25, we want to win the whole darn thing, or do you prefer to just, as you said, just take it, one frame at a time, one ball at a time, and see how many pins you drop?
My personal goal is to definitely make the TV show, which would be top 4.
Okay, TV show. TV show would be a big deal. We would love to see the Jet logo on the TV show. Once again, James McIver, he is a junior out of Cape Coral, Florida. James is one of the 2 bowlers that is headed up to the Nationals, representing the Newman Jets bowling team coming up. Thank you so much for the time. Congratulations and best of luck to both of the Jet bowlers coming up in Nationals, including you and Tyler.
Thank you.
We will wrap things up with the Associate Athletic Director of External Operations, Zane Ehling. He's coming up next on the Jetcast.
Where can you land the best Jet swag? The official online store of Newman University Athletics, NUJetsgear.com. The store features the greatest variety of Jets logo gear anywhere, from latest clothing styles and hats to Newman-branded lawn chairs and office supplies and more. NUJetsgear.com is your place to purchase sports-specific, alumni, parents, and hard-to-find Newman merchandise. Shop right now on your computer or phone. NUJetsgear.com or click the Shop Now button at NewmanJets.com.
We're back to wrap up our Jetcast with the man who is wrapping up his 3rd year as the Associate Athletic Director for External Operations, following 10 years as the head coach of Newman Jets baseball. He spent 3 years as an assistant as well, Coach Zane Ehling. And yeah, once you're a coach on this show, you're always a coach on this show. So welcome back, and appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, I know that the last couple of days for you guys in the athletic department have been really busy hosting the Newman Jets women's golf tournament tournament where we had a lot of success. We're going to be talking with a golfer who finished second at the event. She's coming up next week with Coach Torgerson on our Jetcast as they prepare for the MIAA tournament. So look forward to that next week. But how did that go, getting things set up there? That was at Sand Creek Station, correct?
Yep. It all went pretty smooth. The weather was, as good as it could be, I guess.
Mostly cooperative.
We didn't get rain like we thought we might get, so that's good. But it was a little chilly. But I think from a golfer standpoint, I know the first day especially, I think the weather was fine, and the second day was a little bit tougher. But overall, I think it went pretty smooth. Actually, kind of got rounds in about 5 hours. So I don't think it could have gone any better.
20, Felisa could have won the whole darn thing. That would have been very nice. But other than that, 2021, 2022, we've had it's been an interesting year in terms of administration. We've had, kind of a relaxation of protocols, which is something that your department has to deal with quite a bit because one of your many responsibilities is game day management. And then we had them put back on, and now we're back taking them off. How's 2021, 2022 gone for you?
Well, it's I think gone pretty well, because as you take things away, some of those protocols, it makes our life easier. And once you get used to some of those protocols and you take them away, it makes a game day easier in some ways. So, for the most part, it's gone pretty well, and it's been exciting to get back to having fans, not having to worry about some little things as much, because we don't have to have those protocols in place. And I think everybody's kind of figuring out how to be safe and still enjoy themselves, which is really nice. And, because we want, you play the game, you want fans in the stands, you want excitement. I mean, that's what makes our job so much fun.
One of the things that I know that you really did enjoy that you launched this fall was, of course, the brand new brand identity for Newman University Athletics. And contrasting here, you can see the old logo right here, and then, of course, the new one, and also behind me. I know that you guys were really excited to get that out in the public and see what the response would be in, I think that was in September when that happened.
Yep.
How did the development of that go, and how do you feel like the reception has been for all the new branding and the new word mark and the new logo?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the reception. Is from what I've gathered, everybody has been really excited about it. When things are new, you're a little worried. Obviously, that kind of goes into the development of it, that we put a lot of thought and a lot of time into it. It took almost 2 years to really get to where we are today. But for the most part, everybody was really excited about it. Everybody's really happy with how things turned out. We have a lot of options with it. It gives us a way more modern look. I think what was important during the development of it is make sure we're honoring the past and honoring who we are and our identity too. So, it took 2 years. It all started with Jeff Lovar over in admissions with some ideas, and we went back and forth for 2 years basically. We got some feedback from the public. We got feedback from people across campus, and really, as we're going through it, obviously I put a lot of time and effort and thought into it. And until we got to this logo, I never felt like it was complete. And once we got to this, what we have today, that's when I really, really felt good about it. And that's kind of where we decided it was ready to take off.
How frustrating has it been for you in terms of trying to get apparel out because of all of the one of the things in 2021, 2022 that has not been back to normal has been many of the supply chains that you guys use in order to stock the store, which we probably should plug right here, nujetsgear.com, if you'd like to get some of this stuff with the new logo. And also, there is Mother's Day coming up.
That's right.
So mom and the family might want some drinkware, some gifts. You can find it all at nujetsgear.com. But how frustrating has it been to not be able to get as much apparel as you would have liked, just because, despite things getting more back to normal, there's still a large section of the economy and in terms of supply chain that just is not moving product at the rate and the speed that we were used to and we're still accustomed to, pre-pandemic.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things we kind of talked about when we were talking about when we were going to release, and we basically just decided that waiting wouldn't do us that much good probably. So we went ahead with it, knew that there was going to be frustrations and some challenges and all those things. So I guess knowing going in that there's going to be those challenges kind of helps with the frustration part. But yeah, I mean, it has been challenging, but as much as it has been challenging, and maybe it's because the new logo, I've noticed this more, but I've noticed a lot more people at our games, a lot more people across campus wearing the new logo, wearing Newman gear, which is really, really exciting to see, and really is a big reason why we thought a rebrand was appropriate, is that we wanted to get people excited, and people obviously are buying it and getting on NUJetsteer.com. I see a lot of that gear across campus, which is really, really exciting.
And I know one thing, obviously the next step, and based on when you guys get uniforms, certainly it's not a situation at the Division II level where most programs will just get a new logo and then have immediate new uniforms. Not the case at most programs. So how excited are you as because I know that there is a budget in each team or athletically for uniforms do wear out and they have to be replaced on a 3 to 6 year basis. It depends on the sport.
Yep.
There's some sports that last longer than others. But how excited are you to see more of these logos and more of the lettering, the word mark, the NU? You're already seeing some of it at baseball with the brand new hats, which don't worry, I've already gotten on, Coach. We got to get those in the store because I want one. They look amazing. But how excited are you to see some of this stuff? Because I know that some of it you design for casual wear, like the jacket that you're wearing, for drink wear, but a lot of it also has to look good on the uniform, and I can't wait to see what some of this stuff is going to look like on the ladies and the gentlemen that are wearing it, representing the Navy and Red next year, or in the years to come. Yeah,
that obviously is a very exciting part, and a really big part of the vision of it was what it's going to look like on a uniform and getting it our guys and girls in that stuff. Luckily, I think we hit a pretty good time to where there is going to be a lot of uniforms being replaced. I know really women's basketball is the only one that probably had the newest ones.
They just got some new uniforms.
But everybody else, women's soccer was already wearing the new logo in some of their uniforms. They're getting more this year. Baseball was having hats makes it an easier transition.
And baseball's a little bit different in that you've got, because they've still got the Jets pinstripes, which those are probably getting close to being the last year for those. And it's also different because they've had the Old English N before, and there's been, baseball's kind of always its own thing, and they've got their own version of the NU logo, which looks fantastic on the Navy hats, and the red hats, which I think also look good. So, but yeah, it is coming around, isn't it, for a lot of these teams?
Yeah. So I would imagine in the next year or two that we're going to be almost fully transitioned to the new logo, and it may take a year or two to transition every single uniform out there, but I think for the most part, the majority will have the new logo here in the next year or two.
And another thing that people should be aware of is that the traditional NU logo for the university is not changing. That's still going to be the institutional mark. But in terms of that mark on uniforms, that's not going to be a thing going forward. You're going to be sticking with, the traditional, or what I guess it's not traditional anymore because it's brand new, but the new logo. And that, I think a lot of people maybe sometimes get confused, that there is an athletic logo and an institutional logo, and you guys are going to be using the athletic logo, but it doesn't change what Newman's doing with the NU with the cross logo.
Correct. Yep. That's definitely still going to be used across campus, and I'm sure it'll have its times where we use it a little bit, but probably not on uniforms, but in different ways. There is still a big use for that logo too.
What is the biggest role that you've had? Because I think one of the ways that you've kind of taken on more and more responsibility has been in terms of game management over your time becoming the associate athletic director. How has that evolved with, I'm sure when you took over the job, some of the stuff that you've had to do these last 2 years was not even in the realm of thought that you've had to try to pull off and make work in very difficult situations. How has that been, the game management part of the duties, in terms of making sure that the games are administratively run correctly and kept on time on game day, most notably, obviously, at volleyball and men's and women's basketball?
Yeah, I think the biggest change with the pandemic stuff, like streaming became, and just the day and age that we're in, streaming has become a lot more important. We have a lot more interest in people wanting to see video and wanting play-by-play and all those sort of things. So, and only having, assistant AD for communications in our SID office and, not enough manpower, you got to kind of jump in some different areas. So really, I think the biggest change, obviously there's the COVID stuff, but, really putting an effort into the streaming and the play-by-play stuff that we can, serve the people that can't be here in person better and make it to where people want to watch it or want to listen to it instead of, because as you know, if you turn something on and it's hard to watch, you're not going to watch it again. So we want to try to get things to get on to where it looks good, sounds good. That way people want to come back and watch it that way.
And obviously, all the Newman games are streamed on the MIAA network for the most part at the MIAAnetwork.com/Newman. And we are having the biggest baseball schedule that we've ever broadcast. Of course, will be on the Newman Jets audio network at newmanjets.com/listen. There's a paid option for the MIAA network, and the audio network is absolutely free for grandma and grandpa. And obviously, if you're watching, that audio will be streamed on there as well. What's been the reception like in terms of the audio network and trying to grow that? And obviously this year, so excited to have our biggest baseball schedule we've ever had. And then, like you said, the MIAA network certainly during this last 3-year stretch is probably doing the biggest numbers that it's ever done for all across the association.
Yeah, I think people are almost getting used to having play-by-play and the video and everything together, because when we don't have it, I think we get more complaints about that than we do about anything, even if we mess up the video. So, which is good. I mean, that's, you want
people to care, right?
We do, and we want we want to promote our student athletes, and especially when we're having success, we really want that to be something people can access and listen to and or watch, whatever it may be. So, it's a very important part of college athletics, and it's going to continue and probably become more important in the future.
How, in terms of baseball, obviously, as the former baseball coach, how excited are you? I know you're not coaching right now, but you got to be excited about seeing the success that the baseball teams have, and best 15-game start in the history of the Division II program, and has been very, very competitive in so many of these series, with the, maybe the one exception of Central Missouri. But if you've looked at their record, the Mules are doing that to everybody this year so far. I think they're still undefeated in the MIAA, but gosh, you got to be so pumped for baseball and what those guys are doing out there at McCarthy Field.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, when you're a baseball guy, you love baseball, and you love good baseball. So
and the Jets are playing good baseball,
when
aren't they?
When you play good baseball, it makes it much easier to love too. So, but yeah, they've had a really good season. Even though I know that there's been a little bit of disappointment here in a couple games lately, maybe, but
still got got the Sunday win in the last series, salvaging Game 3 of that. So, all those little, all those little things, anytime that you win series and you don't get swept at the end of the year in terms of the standings, those little games, and you can look and say, well, you lost the series, but not getting swept, that adds up and makes a big difference at the end of the year, doesn't
it? Yeah, absolutely. And I think taking 2 of 3 at Central Oklahoma on the road, that's huge. I think a couple of those games there like that, you take some games that maybe, especially on the road, that you're not expecting to win necessarily in the big scheme of things. Of course, you're expecting to win every game, but those are the games that are going to come back at the end of the year. That those are the wins that are going to help you get into the conference tournament and put you in position to get to some postseason.
Well, not only that, but I mean, there's nobody who knows how close you can be to not quite getting in. And that 2000, I was looking back at 2018, I believe it was, for the Heartland Conference, where there were 5 teams at the top of the league going into the last weekend, and none of them were guaranteed to make the tournament. I think it might have been 6, but none of the teams were guaranteed to make the postseason. So, the razor-thin margin, it really can come down to one at-bat or one pitch, can't it?
It absolutely can. I mean, that season we were down at St. Mary's in the season, and if we take the series, we're in the conference tournament, and they're out.
Yeah.
And it ended up where
I remember the series before, you had to win that series, and we had that on the radio, I believe, and you had to win that series to give yourself a chance. You did get that done at home.
Yep.
And then, going down and you had a chance there on Saturday to play for everything.
Yep. And then it ended up, obviously we lost the game, a close game, and they ended up winning the series, and they ended up sharing the Heartland Conference title that year. So, I mean, every game matters. It's hard to think about that, like even right now in the season. I'm sure those guys, are out there, but everything matters. Every win you can pick up, adds up towards the end of the year, of course. So
one thing, obviously, that adds up as well is the support of the program financially from people like you out there in the community, businesses, and that's the other big part of your job. And I know that one thing that you're looking at coming up here is the Jet Open. Registration just opened for that, and people who want to be a part of that, it's just like getting into the postseason. Every little bit matters, and it doesn't matter if it's $25 or $2,500. Every little bit helps Newman be competitive in the best NCAA Division II conference in the country. How's plans going as you get set for another Jet Open, which hopefully, being outside, hopefully we're going to get that back even closer to normal this year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's being the third year, that makes it a lot easier to plan for sure, being in this position. And we have a great group of sponsors that are very loyal and committed, and so it's easy to go back and sell those basically. And we're always looking for new people and new teams. That's how we can grow. Is really finding some new sponsors and people that are interested in supporting and being part of the Newman Jets Audio Network and the MIAA Network, and getting some sponsorship from that end too, as part of our packages. So really planning's going great. We've already got some commitments. We already got people signing up. So we were nearly full last year. So we're hoping that we're busting at the seams this year.
And by the way, it's 316-942-4291, and just ask for Coach Ehling, and I'll probably be the one that connects you, and he'll be happy to talk to you. And I'll even put his money down, and I didn't even ask him if I could say this or not, but if there's a package or something that you want that's unique for you on the audio network, we'll make it happen for you. So just ask for what you want. We'll do it for you. Believe me, we can make it happen. So last thing for you, what's the next big project? Obviously, Jet Open is going to take up so much of your time once we're done through the season, the baseball season, but what's on the horizon? What's up for the summer for you? Obviously, like everybody else in the athletic department, probably some well-deserved time off is going to be on the docket. I would never deny you that, but what's some other things on the summer that you got to get done to try to keep building the momentum and keeping it moving forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of, we've had a lot of big things happen in the last couple of years. We got the new online store, we got the app, we got the new logo, we've got a lot
Jets
of big
Audio
things.
Network.
I don't know if we're going to be able to top anything we do this summer with all the stuff we've been doing, but we're just continuing to try to get better. I know with Zach, we want to try to upgrade some of his equipment, some of the cameras. We're trying to start the sports communication major is changing a little bit to it's going to be called sports media and promotion, which we've been working with Dr. Hain with, and hopefully try to attract some more students and get them into that, and get some more interns so we can cover our teams better in social media. I think that's going to be something outside the Jet Open that I think we're going to be really working on, is just trying to get more student involvement within the athletic department as far as covering our teams on social media, getting more content out there, being able to promote ourselves better. I think that's pretty much one of our big priorities. And then as a department as a whole, which kind of involved with too, is I know that we're in a strategic planning phase right now, and as a university, and I know a comprehensive campaign's on the horizon here that we're hopefully going to be a part of to improve our outdoor facilities. So there's going to be a lot of planning behind closed doors with that too, to really get that going and see where we can get with that, and really try to make it better out there for our outdoor guys.
Once again, it's 316-942-4291. Call if you are interested in the Jet Open, or if you're a student who thinks, I'd like to get into sports and watch sports for a living and get into sports communications. Newman's got you covered there too, and we can put you over to admissions about that possibility. Zane Ehling, Associate Athletic Director for External Operations, and one of my bosses, kind of, in a way. Nice job, boss. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back next week. We're talking golf. Director of Golf, Taryn Torgerson, will be on. We'll have the golfer that finished second, Felisa, will be here as well next week after finishing second at the Newman home golf meet this past week. So until then, Blake Cripps saying, go Jets.